Next up, we have a conversation on the game Forspoken. Now, if y'all know, this is a game I was looking forward to.
Same,
It's
yeah.
a game I've been looking forward to for a while. Jason was looking forward to it as well. We brought out a video not too long ago about something is missing in Forspoken. We put it on the internet. We got some lovely feedback on that video. A lot of people were saying, you guys are idiots, basically. What they told us. But there was definitely some people that gave us feedback that's like, hey, the demo is like, not the full representation of the game, blah, blah, blah. There's going to be more stuff. This was focused on combat, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, that's all cool and everything. But at the end of the day, there was clearly something that felt like it was missing in this.
Yes.
Now that the game is out, now I will say, a little bit of disclaimer, I did not play this game. I watched this game.
Yeah.
Because it's $70, and seeing all the reviews come out, bombing this game, I was like, I'm not going to pay $70 to find out this game isn't very good.
Yeah,
I watched 3.5 hours.
Holy hell, you got
Yes.
further than that.
I watched 3.5 hours. In that 3.5 hours, my opinions have not changed about this game.
But you saw more gameplay,
I
more
saw more
combat.
gameplay, more combat,
Story.
more story, actual story, because there
Yeah.
wasn't much story in the demo. One of the things that I mentioned in the video that I think both agreed was that it felt empty. Like it felt like it was missing. It was missing content, like this big expansive world. There wasn't a lot there. I mean, yeah, there was like icons and stuff you can go to, but just didn't feel like a live, livable world. Which, I mean, granted, now that I know the story, there's this thing called the break, which is like corruption out in the world. So everybody's like confined to this city and nobody goes out there except for all the bad guys. So that's why it's a little empty. So there is a story bit tied into that. Okay. And I will say, I mean, I do actually, as much as I don't like some of the dialogue, I do like the character Frey. Like, I think she's an interesting, like you start in New York. She's down on her luck. She just like went to court, almost got into prison, eventually got let off a little bit. And then she goes out and it turns out she has some like, some beef with not some beef, but some people that like expect her to do like one last thing. And she wasn't wanting to do it because she's trying to like clean herself up and not go to prison.
Yep.
And then she gets teleported when she finds this cuff. She puts this cuff on and then like she goes to this portal and
Where'd
ends
the
her up
cuff
in
come
some
from?
random thing.
Well, here's the interesting thing about the cuff. She was like on top of a building, thinking about her life because her building just burned down.
After
She
just
gave
running
her
away from
cat,
people that
running away
tried
from
to-
the people was trying to kill her, and it hit midnight, and that was the day of her birthday. And all of a sudden, a little like bird or butterfly flew around and went to this window of this like old building, and there was a cuff there, and the cuff's shining. She's like, "Oh, sweet! I can basically steal this and sell it." Basically what she was getting at. And she went to it. She grabbed the cuff, and then the cuff teleported her. It shined bright, and it teleported her into this magical world. And then it was attached to her, and the cuff talks to her, but she's the only one that can hear it. And now they're bonded. And the cuff was saying about this world that she's in. There's these 4 women, and I'm assuming they're witches or whatever of some sort. And that he thinks that he was a person at one point, but he was transformed into this cuff. So the storyline's there. The storyline's pretty interesting. I have a feeling she has something. Because whenever she was born or whatever, she was a newborn, she was dropped off at a hospital. So I have a feeling the story's connected that she's actually from this other dimension, this other world, and one of those 4 witches might be her mother.
Oh,
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
And maybe even
Probably.
cuffs her dad or something, and the mom got mad and turned him into that because he didn't clean the dishes or take out the trash. I don't fucking know.
Sounds about right.
But the storyline's there. I actually was enthralled in the story, but the gameplay, whenever I was watching the gameplay, I was just like, I can kind of dig this, but something about the game doesn't seem like I will jump into it and actually enjoy it. It would push me further and further and further. Something's
You would think
missing.
this would be like a Horizon type game. Not like it, but like the same kind of, expansive world, gigantic, filled with a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. And this just doesn't seem like that. But it's a $70 game for PlayStation 5.
$70 game.
$70.
Like, it's just looking at some of this, it just seems like, dang it, what is that game?
And plus, I was telling Brett that the graphics remind me of Alan Wake.
I could see that.
Like, just,
Yeah.
it's very not good.
What was that game? Rain. It had rain in it.
Heavy Rain?
Heavy Rain. This seems like Heavy Rain.
Huh.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Not that like the way the game is, but like just the layout of everything. It just seems so like there's nothing there. It's just like, here's a scene for you to walk through to create some kind of mood.
Scenes.
Yeah.
Did you get to the part where the cutscenes, you're in a room with a cutscene, and then it goes black, and it comes back to the cutscene, and it's still, you're in that same room, but it's at a different
you like walk
angle.
up and like you grab an object and then it fades to black and then like it fades back in. It's like nothing changed.
Nothing
There's this detour quest you do in the town, and it's like you have to go feed these sheep in the cemetery. So you're walking around through the cemetery and you go up to feed a sheep, and your character bends over and drops something down for the sheep, and it fades to black and says, "You fed the sheep." And then you click a button to like open it back up, and then suddenly there's like 7 sheep around you that just like somehow just like magically appeared, and it's just like the weirdest.
I hate that in video games.
It's the most awkward.
We are past that. We are in
transition.
2023.
Oh, I know, and that's the biggest thing about this game is that like there's so many good. There's a lot of good bones here. Like the combat is really interesting. I actually think I like after having seen the combat now that they thrust you into it. In the demo, they thrusted you into it where you had like all the powers, and it was like way too overwhelming. Well, in this, you start out with like you have 3 abilities, so you get to like kind of ease into it, and then eventually you get those fire abilities later on in the game, which I appreciated. The traversal is really good, like running around the world, like you can move fast, you feel like you can climb up things pretty easily, and you unlock a lot of stuff over time. Like you get the nails you can paint that gives you buffs. And that was actually there was actually a good story element to why the nails were painted. It had to do with the witches characters.
Nice.
Like they would do that, and you apparently are able to do the same through some. If you collect these stones or whatever, and then paint your nails, you basically. I think you are like a descendant of one of the witch lady people.
I really think
because
so.
you have all these things, and you're the only person in the town that can go out in the break and not get corrupted and infected by the break.
Well, that's because of
you're like some famous thing.
That's because of the cuff.
You're a famous
Right.
thing.
The cuff was helping you prevent to get
Yeah.
infected.
Yeah. So that was super interesting. So there's a lot of really cool like functions and stuff in here, but it's just like, you're playing the game, you go around the world, there's a bunch of icons that pop up on the screen that say, hey, go here, go here, go here. You have that fade to black thing that's really awkward. There's parts where you like go around and explore through the rooms that it's just like kind of useless expository, like, hey, click on this thing. You have like 2 dialogue options that pop up that just give you not a lot of good context. The menu design still sucks.
Oh yeah, the menu
like
design's terrible.
It's garbage. It's absolutely terrible. And like it just feels like your character movement feels stiff in a lot of ways when you're in like walking around the town. The dialogue when characters are talking is not synced up well. So as much as the voice acting could be good, it's like there's this character you meet early on named Auden, and she's like she's the person that she frees you from prison essentially, and then she wants you to help her find out more about her father. And in that process, like the two of you are talking back and forth, and like she's a really interesting character, and they have a good backstory to her, and same with Frey. But like when they're talking, their voices aren't matching up right, and their faces are kind of emotionless. And I'm like, these characters could be so much better if they just spent a little bit more time on making the actual facial animations right.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's disappointing. It feels like a B game that from Square Enix for a new IP should be way better than this.
I still want to play this game. Sadly.
Sad.
Like I still want to buy this game and play it, but
Yeah.
I don't want to spend $70 on it, especially since Hogwarts Legacy comes out in like 2 weeks
Yeah.
or a week.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can spend money there and actually get.
Actually, get what I like.
Yeah.
What I'm watching, I'm enjoying.
Exactly.
I feel like
Yeah.
I'm going to have to force myself to play this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those
So-
games I just don't want to have to deal with.
Yeah.
It's missing a lot. I could tell.
The
It's
thing
sad that we're here in 2023.
the thing that I think that this game is missing, like the specific thing that I think is missing from this game is fun. Like it literally is.
Wow.
I think it's missing fun in that the combat is interesting, but like there's nothing about what I've seen in the 3.5 hours I've watched this game that is inherently very fun. There's interesting stuff happening, but I'm not like, oh man, like I'm having a blast, like running around shooting this. Like literally in the first 3.5 hours, you go in the open world twice. The first time you go in the open world, you go out there and you fight like this. Like there's a lot of other things you could do if you wanted to, but if you like go towards the destination, you fight this like reindeer like magical thing or whatever, and then some like little mini like boss like corrupted not bosses but like corrupted guys, and then you get to this tower where you are rescuing this or you're trying to find books, and then you find this dude that's in there that's like fucked up in the head and corrupted, and he's the father of this other character, and when you get out of there, you fight some bad guys that are like all knighted and stuff like that. But that whole segment there was like a 30-minute experience of the 3.5 hours that I watched. And that was the only part you were in the open world in the 3.5 hours. You then came back to the city and you're spending all this time in this little tiny city that's very boring looking. It's just a bunch of stone and there's not a lot of like depth to it. And the characters wandering around like are literally standing there waiting for somebody to come talk to them. They're not like actually living out a life. You know, they're just like, they're motionless until you interact with them kind of thing. So I was just so surprised this vast open world with all these things that you can go and explore and traverse through. They didn't take advantage of in the first 3.5 hours. And apparently the video I'm watching of the full game is 8 hours long. So I've watched a third of the game already. And I've been in the open world for like all but 45 minutes, maybe.
Wow.
And I'm like, and fought bad guys for like 30 minutes of the 3.5 hours. I'm like,
so is this half
what's
baked?
going on? Yeah, I
Half-baked?
think so.
You know what's sad is to get in the weeds a little bit is, you have a lot of people who want to help, spread inclusivity and stuff, and then you have this game with a POC and it's half baked, person of color.
Yeah.
And it's just like why?
I didn't even think about that at all.
I know, but it's just I just find it funny that you have like a half baked game for something that people want to like make something for, and I don't know the best way to say it, but you think it'd be better.
Yeah.
It's like, why is this half baked? I mean, it's not because it's a POC. I'm just saying, for whatever reason, they didn't put the time and effort, or this is all that they could do. But it's like Square Enix, like, what the heck? They have the ability and the time and the resources to actually make a good game.
I mean, I just see that's what Square Enix has been struggling with for a long time. It's like every game that they've been bringing out, with the exception of Final Fantasy, has been like, well, I mean, Octopath Traveler was pretty good, but it was like, it's a 16-bit kind of game, but
Yeah.
They brought out all these like RPG attempts. I mean, Marvel's Avengers had so much potential and it, fell flat.
Yeah.
And they've had a lot of what was the like Tomb Raider did? They didn't publish Tomb Raider. Or did they publish Tomb Raider?
I think they did.
That's Crystal Dynamics, but maybe they did publish Tomb Raider. I don't know. That did okay, but I don't know. I was very disappointed that this had. It was just such a. I mean, I love this. I think this character is such a good concept. Like her connection to her cat early on, and like all these different things. There's so much you can do with that. It's just not good storytelling.
Yeah.
That could have been so much better and stuff. And there's things that she says in here that I'm just like, man, that could have been so much. That dialogue could have been just written a little bit differently. It would have been so good. And instead it was like, it just came off wrong. And it sucks. Like, because I want this game to be so good and it just doesn't hit the nail on the head.
Well, it's like a gamer is the one who made this game. You don't have anybody from like a film or TV or cinematic background who's like, okay, let's do something like this, let's do something like that, to give it more spice and maybe vamp up the script a little bit. And I just think there's a lot of that still in gaming. Like, PlayStation has the best of both worlds. You can make a good game and you can tell a good story.
Yeah.
And you have all the things that, you would see in a movie or a TV show or something that like help accent everything that's happening in the characters and what's happening on screen.
Yeah. But I mean, like, people like Neil Druckmann never had a film background.
Yeah.
I mean, he jumped in. It's like, I don't know if that necessarily is like correlates. Like, you don't need to pull somebody from film or television to make a good story. Like, a gamer can make a good story. It's just that what happened here is I don't think they had enough testing or anything like that. So, like, I feel like they've made this game in a silo and didn't get enough like outside like perspective on like.
Well, they did. They came out with the demo for us.
Well, no. I mean, but they didn't have time for that. You know what I mean, like, there's no time to fix it at that point. Like way early on, like having people like actually like play test this thing in the right. I mean, maybe they did have a bunch of play tests. I don't know, but it feels like they did not have anybody play test this story to see like does it touch clutch of the heartstrings. And I've been watching people like give reviews or with like videos online in the comments, like they're giving like. They're like, I love this game. Like, I think it's good. They're like, I love the story. I love the combat. I'm like, I don't know what game you're playing because that's not what I'm seeing here.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
yeah, this seems like a game that should have came out 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, it was like 5 or 6 years ago. There's a lot of things I could have like let slide. But it definitely, is such a like I'm hopeful. It's kind of like what we said with Evil West. It's like maybe if they make a second one, like
sequel,
they'll fix it and they'll make it better and they'll learn from their mistakes. But
I mean, with
doubt it.
with Evil
Not now.
West, I enjoy the game for what it is, but I know the sequel is going to be better. With this one, I can't even play through it for 30 or 40 minutes to even get to that point where I'm actually going to enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can see myself playing this game, forcing myself through so much bullshit, and I'm just like, I don't want to do it. I really want to get this game. I really want to play this game. I was hooked in the beginning with the story, but some of the NPCs bug me a little bit because it's still that old style. Like when she was running away from some people.
What is going on?
Like it seems like it wants to be a AAA, but it keeps pulling back to a C rating. It's just like what is this?
Yeah.
And I don't know. If it drops in price, if it's a $30 game, I would probably get this game. You know?
Yeah.
So
But with Hogwarts Legacy on the bound, there's no way I'm going to waste time or money to get this game.
Exactly. I mean, it's a new IP. I mean, I don't see them making a sequel. If they do, it's going to be half-assed too, because they're not going to have the money or they're going to have the capital to go forward with it. I mean, who's going to play it? The 5 people who bought this game?
Yeah.
It's definitely not going to make its money back.
what was the game, the Final Fantasy game that had the people on the road trip?
Final Fantasy 7?
No, that wasn't road trip.
Oh.
15, 18, 16, 15, 18?
Well, 16 is about to come out.
15.
So,
It had
but
to be
I don't know. Was it
15?
15? Has to
15?
be
though?
15.
It had to be.
Or
Well, show me
13.
the photo. I'll show you.
It's the guys
I'll
on the
tell you.
road trip.
Yeah, I know. I just don't know which one it was. That's it.
Okay.
What number is
So
that?
that's 15. Yeah. So that's who made this game, was those people.
Really?
Yeah. So this is made by that team,
Wow.
Luminous Productions. So they've made 2 games as a studio, and the first one was Final Fantasy 15. So that's why it's like, when I heard about that, I was like, I never played that game, but I know that
That's why it
the
has
game
that
was
style.
pretty good. You know,
Yeah.
it's got the Final Fantasy style for sure. But I mean, I almost wonder if maybe that's why, because they're trying to, it's a Japanese studio who is trying to fit themselves into a New York setting. Like, I feel like they're just so far removed from that lifestyle.
Yeah.
That maybe that's where the disconnect came, and that they didn't have anybody that actually has experienced what this woman has experienced in that realm.
Yeah.
And that's what it ultimately came down to. That's the only thing I can think of, because it's just like,
I don't understand why studios do that. I mean, there's some studios like, Montreal studios who make American games, and I'm like, it actually worked out pretty well.
yeah,
But yeah, something like this, definitely, I could definitely see that.
they do what you know kind of thing,
Yeah, I don't know why they would. Maybe they were forced to be put on there.
I don't know.
I
Maybe.
mean, who knows? It's
But-
sad, man.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but I think this game, like anybody that wants to play this game, this is a wait until it drops to like $30 and then buy it, which I guarantee you in the next 6 months it's going to be down to $30. So I think that'll be the time to pick it up, and I think it'll be worthwhile to play through a little bit. I mean, it's supposed to be like an 8 to 10. I mean, actually, How Long to Beat says it's a 16-hour game, but I'm seeing gameplay videos say it's like 10. So it's not a long game. So, it's not like you're going to spend a shit ton of time on it, but the combat's good, running around the world's fun. It's just, there's a lot of stuff you had to slog through to get to that point.
Yeah.
Man, that sucks.
So it's Forspoken, still not good, and it sucks. It's first big game of the year, and it's a bit of a bummer. So Hogwarts Legacy, you better deliver for me, baby.